Sziasztok, Janó vagyok. Közép-Európa első világra szóló podcast csatornáját hallgatjátok Magyarországról. Ez a Budapest.fm.
Hi, my name is Ray, and you're listening to the #1 podcast station in Central Europe, Budapest.fm, podcasting to the world from Hungary.
Sziasztok mindenkinek! Itt vagyunk Ryan Lane-vel. Ryan is a poet, a musician, a translator, probably some more things too. Tell us about yourself, Ryan. Where are you from?
Sure. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm from Arizona originally in the U.S.
Arizona, nice.
Yeah. I grew up in a town called Prescott.
Prescott?
Well, we say Prescott. That's like
Prescott.
The local pronunciation. It's spelled Prescott. But if you say Prescott, we know you're not from Prescott.
What do you call people from Prescott? Are they Prescottians?
Prescottonians.
Prescottonians.
Yeah, you gotta have that little, fancy cowboy hat flavor. So yeah, I lived there from age 5 to 18. Then I moved to the Phoenix area to go to school.
Phoenix, Arizona. Word. And then you live in Budapest now?
Yes, I live in Budapest now. I first made it here on a scholarship trip in 2011 for 3 weeks after my first year of college.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it was this kind of bizarre situation where there's this foundation in Arizona called the Flynn Foundation, which gives these scholarships to 20 high school kids from the state every year. And part of their program, nice. Ooh.
Part of the program was what?
Was that they would take these students after their first year of school to Hungary and Romania, or in my year's case, Hungary and Serbia. I guess check it out. For 3 weeks. It was like this super random thing. Someone had a connection, I think, with an organization here where they would like organize this big trip. And so we, for 3 weeks we traveled around the country, met professors, politicians. University students that we would stay with, and we had the evenings to ourselves, which to a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds from the United States.
And this was in Hungary and Serbia?
This was in yeah.
So was Belgrade and Budapest, or you were in the countryside?
We were in the countryside too.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So Budapest was kind of like a base. We'd spend like 4 or 5 days here at a time. Then we go to like Bratislava. We actually went to Bratislava as well in Slovakia, and then we went to various parts in the Hungarian countryside, and then slowly made our way down through Vojvodina in Serbia to Belgrade. So we went to like Sombor, Novi Sad, Belgrade.
Nice. Were you going down the Danube?
I don't know how close. Yeah,
I've always thought it would be a good trip because the Danube starts in the Black Forest and goes all the way down to Romania at the Black Sea. So it would be very interesting to take that entire trip down through Austria, through Budapest, through even Bratislava, because it goes through, I think, 4 or 5 capitals through Europe, something like that.
Yeah,
something crazy. Sure. Even I think Bucharest, Romania, it's right next to it. It's not. Anyway, so you went there, you did some traveling, 2011 with this organization, with the scholarship, and then you just stayed in Budapest after that? You've been here ever since?
It wasn't quite so straightforward. So we have this trip. It was a total blast. Go back to Arizona, and I fall into this like funk for 6 months. I couldn't figure it out.
How old are you then?
I'm 19.
19
to 20. And it took me a long time to piece it together. And then just one day I was with a friend, and it just dawned on me. I was like, I just need to be back. I don't know why. I have no reason to be here. There was no professional thing. There was no family thing. I kept up some contacts, but no real pressing situation. And so I figured out a way. I took a year off of school, enrolled in some classes at this, computer science school here. Just took a half load. It was basically just a logistical.
What was the name of the school?
The Quincum Institute of Technology.
Oh, cool. Because that's where Tom, my friend, he's been on the program before. Bob Tomash, everyone, you might know him. You might love him. I hope you love him. But he was at AIT.
Yeah. When
I visited him to come to Budapest for the first time in 2016. And that was when I first got the first taste of Budapest. And then I moved back with him in 2018. And then we both met our significant others over here while we were living together. And now we live with them. But yeah, so that was my initial burst. Oh, Egészségedre to Zsuzsi, és Angie, és Gyula. Good to see you guys. Feleségem vagy mennyasszony, anyukája, szomszédje, és Zsuzsi, és Gyula, és Angie, nagyon cuki kislány. So basically you were here and then you came back because something drew you here. And when was that when you came back here?
That was the fall of 2012.
2012,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So about like a year and change after that first trip.
And what did you do? Did you have a place to stay? You knew a friend? You just moved into a random apartment?
Actually, yeah, I'm glad you asked that. It was a great little situation. So one of the homestays from that original scholarship trip, and I kept in touch, and she was moving to New York at the same time that I was wrapping up an internship there and moving to Hungary. And so we overlapped in Long Island for like 4 days. And so I helped her get a bank account set up, and she gave me the keys to her apartment. And
wow,
so
nice
I just
trade.
took them and walked, and I started paying rent to the landlord, and he was happy that he didn't have to do anything. So that worked out beautifully.
And where was that apartment?
That was on Csengery utca. I shared a wall with the terrorháza. Yeah, so you could reach out and touch it.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, it was wild.
So that was 2012. És how long were you there then?
I was there for a year.
A year.
Yeah, so dipped into 2013. I was only at AIT for that semester, and then I got an internship at Prezi and was working there full time through the summer, and then made the difficult decision to return back to Arizona. Yeah, so at that point, my parents were getting divorced. A friend of mine had invited me to like work on his company there, like, move and do the hacker house thing. And then I also just realized I hadn't prepared my life there to just bail and just live here.
Right.
So there was a lot of things to tie up. So that was like 2.5 years of finishing stuff in Arizona, and a ton of things happened. Then 2015 rolls around, and I take a Euro trip with my sister. We had both finished school around the same time, and we end up here. And I was sort of like trying to figure out, is the pole still there? And it was all still there.
Nice.
The circumstances would change, the people would sort of shift in and out, but whatever that pole was has been constant.
And so then you stayed here ever since then?
Yeah. I mean, there was another like 3 or 4 months of job searching, so I went back to Arizona while I was like applying for stuff, and then
Cool.
I made the big move in February of 2016. So that's now 6 years ago.
Nice. And then you speak Hungarian? Beszélsz magyarul?
Igen, most már igen.
Wow. And how was that process? How did you learn Hungarian? Was it with a teacher? Was it with just on the street? How did you go about learning?
Yeah, it was with teachers. So the first sort of instruction I had was with the Hungarian professor at AIT. She taught a twice a week, 2 hours a piece course. And so that was excellent. I enjoyed it a lot. And then after that, I started just studying with like private teachers. So I've had 4 in total. And it's funny how like they would come in and out of my process, and there was like so many different stages. The language is one of the great loves of my life, but the learning process of it was also fascinating. There's just so many components to it. And then
az első nyelv neked?
Nem, ez a idegen nyelv, ez a második idegen nyelvem volt. Ez első spanyol volt.
Spanyol.
Igen.
És beszélsz jobban spanyol vagy magyarul?
Most már magyarul.
Magyarul?
Igen. Volt egy olyan időszak, amikor jobban beszéltem spanyolul, ugye, és aztán jobban megtanultam a magyart, és aztán amikor visszamentem Arizonába, akkor jobban újra indult a spanyol nálam. De mikor visszaköltöztem, és akkor folytattam a tanulást, akkor nem tudom, most nincs verseny, akkor sokkal jobban beszélek már most.
Ja, mint az én, mert tanultam olaszul iskolában, és tanultam olaszul 6 éves, de nem tényleg tanultam olaszul, csak iskola olaszul, de most Magyar is really my first real language that I've learned because I've been able to, actually live in a place and speak it. Whereas back in high school, learning Italian was more paper by the books. But now, I would like to learn Italian again.
Yeah.
But why do you like Hungarian so much? Miért?
Yeah.
What is it about Hungarian that you love so much?
Yeah. Is it it's fascinating. Do you have any preference of like what language I answer this question?
Whatever you want.
Cool. So the structure of Hungarian is just absolutely gorgeous. And so, so many people say that it's impossible to learn, or it's like super, super hard to learn. I'm really interested in your answer to that question, or your response to that proposition. But the way that I understand it and the way that I experienced it was that the first 6 months are just a pain. They're just awful, because it's just, you can't rely on any of the grammatical structures that you just take for granted.
Right.
And even it helps if you've learned another language and had to decompose some of it, but then, especially if you haven't learned one at all, then it's just like just the soup. But then, after enough investment and when it starts to come together, it just reveals this incredible structure that you can, just build things on top of. And then the sort of semantic logic that structure allows is just, it's so amenable to me. I just love it. It's like I love reading it. I love speaking it. I love having conversations and debates and like getting into the weeds of something with someone in Hungarian, because there's things you can do with the shapes that are just different. And every language has these unique properties, but something about Hungarian.
Nehéz neked magyar?
Nekem nem volt nehéz.
Soha nehéz?
Soha nem volt.
Tényleg?
Igen. Hát nem tudom. Szerintem lehet, hogy azért nem volt nehéz, mert imádtam minden adott lépést, és akkor ami mondjuk mások nehéznek élnének meg, akkor én csak élvezetesnek éltem meg az egészet.
És neked mit a legnehezebb dolog magyarulból? Például nekem, azt hiszem lehet beszélni magyarul kicsit jó, és igazából beszélek kicsit, mint az a hülye 5 éves férfi, de tetszik, és kényelmes, és nekem mindig nem fontos nekem, ha beszélek igaz, vagy csak hülye, csak most lehet kommunikálni. Now I can communicate, exactly, just like that. De nekem hallgattam magyarul nehezebb, mint az beszéltem. És igazából azt hiszem, olvastam a legnehezebb, mert olvastam nem tényleg how I learned Hungarian. Például tényleg tanultam magyarul a kocsmában, a saunaházban, sok dolog, ahol lehet beszélni emberrel, de nem tényleg tiszta magyar minden. És most például tanárom, Orsi, nagyon jó tanár, és egész idő, azt hiszem 3 éves és 6 hónap, csak tanultam vele, csak tanultam vele. És nagyon jó tanár, de most nem tényleg tanultam a könyvből, tényleg csak a beszélgetés, tényleg nem tudom, ha hosszú történet rövid, nekem legnehezebb dolog magyarul, vagy nehezebb dolgok magyarul, hogy olvasok és hallgok. És ugyanígy neked, vagy mit a legnehezebb dolog magyarul?
Szerintem változott.
Mit jelent változott?
Változott, hogy egykor ez egyik volt a legnehezebb, és aztán máskor a második volt, és szóval ez változott. Szóval nem maradt, hanem változott.
Okay.
És szerintem attól függ, hogy mit használtam, vagy mivel foglalkoztam a legjobban. Szóval az elején nagyon sokat beszéltem, és akkor ugyanaz a helyzet, mint nálad, hogy sokkal könnyebb volt nekem beszélgetni, mert akkor csak gyakoroltam, és az akkori magyar barátaim nagyon segítőkészek voltak, és akkor állandóan engedték, hogy...
És amikor beszél a magyar emberrel, mit az a reakció?
Hát általában nagyon örülnek. Neked is, gondolom.
Igen, azt hiszem csak pozitív a reakció általában, és nagyon jó a pozitív validation nekem.
Igen.
Mert amikor csak kis dolog lehet mondani, már nagyon jó, és something changed with the interactions, not necessarily that I would have with like my girlfriend's friends, at the time girlfriend, now fiancée, but with her friends, or not necessarily with like cool people I met playing soccer or at the bars, but just random Hungarians that maybe don't speak English. Like when you can show them that you speak a little bit of Hungarian, the whole like attitude changes. Not necessarily from a bad one to a good one, but definitely from whatever it was before to much better.
Igen, mindenképpen. És ez nem igaz minden országban. Ugye? Szóval mondjuk ha Spanyolországban, vagy egy spanyol beszélő országban zajlana ez a folyamat, akkor nem annyira lepődnek meg, mert annyira sokan beszélnek spanyolul, aki nem spanyol anyanyelvek, ugye? De ez a segítőkészség a külföldieknek, hogy jó, akkor ez nagyon jó, hogy valaki megtanulja ezt a nyelvet. Szerintem ez egy ritka jó dolog. Ez nagyon jó dolog.
Wow. Not you're really good at Hungarian. I can even hear like you have more of the accent of like you talk a little bit like a Hungarian with your mouth a little bit like closed and just like sort of just this like Hungarian accent. Whereas I feel like when I'm talking Hungarian, it's like a guy from New York that's taking the language and just like bashing it into my mouth, and it's coming out like a little bit more.
But I mean, I've noticed just watching your material over the years, it's getting way better. And it's getting better fast.
Well, exactly. Yeah. From or since September, amikor jöttünk Leánfalura, tényleg a hyperspeed a magyarul nekem. És kicsit furcsa, nem tudom, ha you experience the same, de amikor, vagy nem amikor, de minden idő meg visszajöttem Amerikába például, mindig idő visszajöttem. Tényleg nem beszélek magyarul, de amikor visszajöttem ide, csak nem tudom, talán mert I was chilling out and my brain was like relaxing, but somehow then when I come back, it's like I hit like a power up, and then it gets all of a sudden much faster, gyorsabb, és most tényleg lehet gyakorolni minden nap Leánfalun, és most ezért nagyon jobban, mint az mielőtt, például múlt éve.
Ja.
És egyébként most azt mondta nekem fordítsz a magyarul angolban, és mit?
Hát most inkább verseket fordítok.
Verseket,
most.
Wow.
Verseket, igen. Épp három versen dolgozom. Ez egyébként ebben a könyvben található, mind az eredeti, mind a másik fordítótól lefordítását. Az énekes semmire, Kosztolányi Dezsőtől, és két Simon Márton verse. Simon Márton egy nagyon jó kortárs költő. És
te a költő?
Én nem vagyok költő magam. Igen, de valamennyire nagyon bejött ez a költeményfordítás, vagy ez a versfordítás, mert tudod, nagyon szűk a lehetőségek prózához képest. Szóval lefordítani egy verst, akkor sokkal szigorúbb a lehetőség tere, mondjuk. Igen. Szóval, és általában a jó versek nagyon mélyek. Azért szerintem versek, mert az a tömörség, hogy nagyon sokat mond egy nagyon pici helyben, az gyakorlatilag az egyik lényege a költészetnek. És akkor lefordítani azt a mélységet egy nagyon izgalmas felfedezés a nyelvben. Még egyfajta megismerkedés is a nyelvvel.
Lehet olvasni magyar vers nekünk?
Persze, yeah, természetesen.
Yeah. Let's hear it. Find the poem that you want to read. I want to hear you read it.
Ja, akkor azt a verset, amit épp
Dezső Kosztolán.
Igen.
Kosztolányi Dezső.
Kosztolányi Dezső.
Tetszik, 32 éves vagyok, mert most 30-os vagyok, és ő versje 32 éves vagyok.
Nem ismerem.
Azt hiszem, első, you read the first one that you want to read, and then I'll read that one.
Jó, szuper. No.
Just the Dezső Kosztolányi competition.
Igen. Szeretettel. Kosztolányi Dezső. Énekes semmiről. Amit ma tartok, azt ellétem. Amit ma tudtam, elfelejtem. Az arcomat kezembe rejtem, és elnyúlok az üres sötétben, a mélyen áramló delében. Annál mi van, a semmi ősebb. Még én nekem is ismerősebb. Rossz sem lehet, mivel erősebb, és tartósabb is, mint az élet, mely vérrel ázott és merősebb. Szokatlan új itt ez a köntös, pár évre szóló, szűk, de göncös, rossz gúnya, melyet a könny öntöz, beotonos lesz majd a régi. a végtelen, a bő, a közömbös. Én is öröktől ebbe voltam, a semmiségre ráomoltam, míg nem javultam és romoltam. Tanulni sem kell, tudjuk ezt rég, eltűnni és feküdni holtan. Ha félsz, a más világba ír át. Verd a halottak némi sírját. Tudd meg konok nyugalmuk írját, de nem felelnek, úgy telelnek. Bírjuk mi is, ha ők is kibírják. Pajtás, dalolj hát, mondd utánam. Mi volt a mi bajunk korábban, hogy nem jártunk a föld porában? Mi fajt szívednek és szívemnek Cézár, Napoleon korában?
Ha, nice.
Imádom.
Nagyon jó. Which year was that? Let's see. 1935. Wow. Just on the eve of World War II. Very cool. All right. Now I'm going to read. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the English, and then we can discuss this poem. And then we'll switch over. I'll read the Hungarian, and then you read the English.
Sounds great.
All right. So this is Kosztolányi Dezső, Énekes semmiről, vagy Song of Nothing. All I now cherish, I'll let perish. All I now see, I'll let it vanish. With face in hands and so to finish, laid in the dark where nothing else is, save deep magnetic pools and pulses. Whatever comes, the void came earlier. Even to me, it's more familiar. And can't be all bad since it's peculiar. Power can give birth to life and body, which in themselves are weak and bloody. The garment I wear is strange, newfangled, good for some years, half patched, half strangled, watered with tears, in mocks entangled. How homely is its every sentence, its timelessness gains in acquaintance. I from eternity came hither, melted into the altogether, did not improve, decaying rather, and all we've learned, we've known for ages, we disappear and die by stages. If you're afraid, go otherworldly, beat on the silent graves, seek boldly, the balm which keeps them dumb and surly. Their answer is, they will not share it, but if they can, we too can bear it. Good friend, now sing with me in chorus. What was it once that could debar us from walking in the dust before us? Why were our hearts in constant sorrow through Caesar's nights, Napoleon's morrow? So as a translator, is this translation helpful in figuring out how to do it, or do you try to do it just plain without looking at someone else's?
I definitely try to avoid looking at someone else's at the beginning.
And do you think there's a difference between poetry translations versus prose translations, for instance?
Yeah, for sure.
Mitä különböző, miért?
Mi a különbség? Hát szerintem általában, hogy lehet mondani ezt, hogy több szabadságod van a prózában fordítani, vagy a prózai fordításban, szerintem. És emiatt lehet találni a jó hangot, és nem kell elengedni, vagy kompromisszumot kötni egy csomó minden a délversben. Ha mondjuk megtalálod a jó hangot angolul például, akkor valószínűleg vagy a legtöbb esetben azt jelenti, hogy el kell engedned bizonyos részleteket.
Értem.
Yeah.
És most, wow, it's so good to see you guys being so excited about Hungarian literature. Nagyon jól esik ezt látni.
De jó.
Köszönöm szépen, Mern F. Nagyon jól hangzik. És oké, most szeretnék olvasni. Talán nem Dezső Kosztolányi, de itt Endre Adi. Párizsban járt az ősz. Oké. Párizsban tegnap beszökött az ősz. Szent Mihály útján suhant neztelen. Kanikulában haklombok alatt, s találkozott velem. Balagtam éppen a szájna fele, s égtek lelkemben kis rúzsadálok. Füstüsek, furcsák, búsak, bíborak, arról, hogy meghalok. Elett az ősz, és sugott valamit, Szent Mihály útja beleremegett. Zum-zum rüpködtek végig az úton, tréfás fálevelek. Egy perc a nyár meg sem hűkült bele, s Párizsból az ősz kacagva szaladt. Itt járt, s hogy itt járt, én tudom csupán, nyugű lombok alatt. 1906. Autumn appeared in Paris. You want to take the English there?
Yeah, happily. Another great translation by George Szirtes. Okay. Endre Ali, Autumn appeared in Paris. Autumn appeared in Paris yesterday. Silent down Saint Michel its swift advance. In stifling heat under unmoving branches, we met as if by chance. Ambling in the direction of the sign, my soul was brent with tiny shreds of song. Dark things, oddments, squibs, laments, which whispered that death would not be long. Autumn cut up and mumbled in my ear. The entire boulevard trembled to the eaves. Tss, tss. Along the street, as if half jesting, flew bright-eyed civic leaves. A moment. Summer hardly had drawn breath, but autumn was on its cackling way and now was gone, and I, the only living witness under the creaking bow. Bow, maybe.
That's what I also wonder. Like here, he's translated zum zum, which I guess what's that called? Onomatopoeia, when it's like a word that sounds like, and he goes tss, tss. And for me, that's like quite a different auditory sensation. And also, one question I have about these translations, például a ritmus, azt hiszem George Szirtes. Ki ez George Szirtes?
Óriási fordító. Még maga költő is. Szóval ő költő.
És magyar vagy amerikai?
Hát magyar, de 8 éves volt, amikor immigrált Angliába a családjából.
És 56 volt?
Igen, vagy egy évvel, vagy 2 évvel később.
Kommunista idők.
Igen. És ő, nem tudom, hát lehet, hogy ő fordított a legtöbbet angolra. De nem vagyok benne biztos abban, de szerintem igen.
And it seems to me like he tries to keep a similar rhythm in the, or maybe not a similar rhythm, but he has a rhythm in the poetry that is like trying to match the rhyming and stuff. So as the translator, is that difficult to try to find not only the meaning but also like the rhythm? Does that add another layer of difficulty?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like these are all different like parameters of constraints.
What are the parameters of the constraints?
So some of them, and of course, I should say that I'm just starting off doing this stuff, so I'm still very, very green. But one of them is rhythm, one of them is rhyme, one of them is literal meaning. Another really hard one is like intertextual references, right? So, there's some things where there's a line that's actually quoting another poem from 100 years prior that might not be translated yet. So then it's like, what do you do with that one?
Right.
And then of course.
And how do you find out something like that? Like, is there a way to figure out what the reference is?
No, it's just your own education. So
there's potential references that you're missing that you don't even realize.
Oh yeah, that's almost like guaranteed to happen. Yeah, because it's like I mean the poets that we read or that Hungarians read are typically incredibly educated people, right? And they're participating in a tradition that's like vast and large, and like if. In our case, for example, we grew up in a totally different place. Yeah. We didn't go to high school here, so there's a ton of stuff that's missing from our knowledge, and so you want to sort of fill that in as much as you can.
És azt hiszem a kultúra Magyarországban nagyon-nagyon fontos emberek itt. Például sok szobrok, sok emlékkeres, sok utcaneve, sok épületneve, sok dolog a kultúra. És azt hiszem Amerikában nagyon furcsa nekünk, mert Amerikában sok híres kultúra, de általában a régi kultúra csak, nem tudom, Walt Whitman, és nem tudom ki, és is a beat kultúra, például Jack Kerouac és modernebb kultúra, de tényleg Magyarországon az első dolog, mit I noticed was that like every other name is Petőfi Sándor utca, Petőfi Sándor híd, Vörösmarty Mihály, József Attila, és Endre, és sok a national hősök általában a kultúra. És érdekes, nem?
Oh, that. And I love that about Hungarian culture. That's one of the things that drew me to it the most, which is that they, like, Hungarians appreciate, I mean, of course, these are, now to jump into just massive generalizations, but there's a strain in the culture that just appreciates greatness and it doesn't discriminate by occupation, right? So whereas in the US, you have this sort of marriage between legitimacy and money making, right? So it's like if you're not a professional, I mean, if you're not paying rent from your thing, then it doesn't like count as much. Here, it doesn't matter. They care about the products of the work, right? So the great poets have statues because they've done great things. And it doesn't matter that it's literature. And it doesn't matter that a ton of them were poor and, you know, couldn't eat a lot of the time. They still produced great things. And that sort of appreciation of greatness and the cultivation of it. And of course, there's like an inverted dark side of it that actually pulls in the other direction.
Are all great poets tortured?
Probably not. I don't think so. I'm not an expert on this, but my sense is probably not.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty that are, of course.
Like József Attila,
Like
he seems to be the prototypical tortured poet.
Yeah, like he's an extreme case, for sure.
What I always wonder is all these guys were such famous poets. Do you think people knew during their time that they were going to have statues named after them? Or is this like a retroactive thing that's been like retconned back into the history, let's say, as like a hyper appreciation of the national heritage? For instance, I don't know, I couldn't name one poet in Hungary today that I would say, okay, that guy's going to have a statue named after him one day. Is it just because we live in a different time, or do you think it was similar back then and they only started to be appreciated after their death?
Fortunately, I think that the appreciation in large part was present, and I even think that's true in today's case. In some cases, for example, there's a poet who's living today. His name is Locski János. He's very well regarded. And I am a good friend with one of his close collaborators named Sina Robert, who's a classical guitarist. And so they will often do, like, he'll score music to his poetry and they'll like do these performances. And I remember talking with Robert once, and he said, no, like János will go on. Like our stuff will have its purpose and it will serve its time, but he will be remembered. And,
cool.
And that was really touching to see. But in the case of like József Attila and Audi and all of these people, the big ones in this book, there was a sense that people knew it. You know, people really got it. And I don't know why, because I think in the US, as a counterexample, or there's a lot of this sense of like, you don't know until they're dead, and it's like 50 years ago, and then there's a lot of rewriting of history. And there's plenty of rewriting of history everywhere, here too, but somehow these folks were famous when they were alive. And it's amazing, because they're artists.
Oké, és most a magyar történelem. Tetszik a magyar történelem?
Nagyon.
Miért?
Ez egy jó kérdés. Szerintem azért, mert jobban ismerem a helyet. Jobban ismerem a történelmet.
Helyet?
A helyet.
A helyet.
A helyet. Az országot, a kultúrát, a népet. Ha jobban ismerem a történetét.
És milyen évek kedvenced évek a magyar történelem? Például a honfoglalás, tehát a járás, a modern történelem, világháború, Rákóczi. Kedvenced?
Hát lehet, hogy van, de ezek ilyen tetszőleges valamennyire, mármint, hogy nem
vagy csak egy könyv veled a sziget, a deserted szigetbe, és egy könyv a honfoglalás könyv, és egy könyv a második világháború könyv. Mit próbálsz?
Hát csak ha az a választék, akkor a honfoglalás.
Honfoglalás? Miért nagyon romantikus, nem? Itt Alexa kapott ezt a könyvet nekem, születésnapotos, most idős férfi vagyok, mert 30-os születésnapot volt múlt két, és
boldog születésnapot.
Köszi szépen. Igazából nagyon fantasztikus, klassz, brutál, régi honfoglalás, mert most olvasok sok honfoglalás történeteket, meseket, mert például most csinálok ez a Walking with Willie YouTube sorozat, és mindig új téma nekem, de most tényleg olvasok sok honfoglalás, és érdekes nekem, mert például most csak múlt héten olvastam és csinálok új epizódot a magyar honfoglalás, de a fehér ló mondaja. Ismered ezt a történet?
Nem, talán nem.
A fehér ló volt például Árpád és 6 más vezér volt Pannon Medencében, talán a Don folyóban, és talán most, 896 a fő év, a honfoglalás év, 896. De 2 év ezelőtt voltak a Don folyó, és Ukrán, Karpács hely, és most Árpád azt mondta, kell megtalálni új földet. És egy vezér volt Kund, és Kund kisfiúja volt Kúsid, és Kúsid elment a Pannon medencébe, és találkozott Svatoplukkal, és Svatopluk volt a Morávia király. És azt mondta Svatopluk, itt vagyunk a magyarok, és Svatopluk azt hitte, ki ez a parasztok, talán itt, here we go, Brazidás gifted. Cheers, guys, I'm driving a camion and listening. Ryan's Hungarian is really nice, jobban mint az én. I couldn't tell he is American, no accent, no grammatical mistakes. I can hear he is not native only by the rhythm. All right, well, wow, that's high praise.
High praise.
No one's ever said that about me. No one's ever said that about me.
Még. Köszi a bokot.
Edge knob, this is something to strive for. Anyway, Svatopluk azt mondta, itt a parasztok nem rossz, mert igazából kell több ember itt csinálni ezt a földet, jobban földet. És Kúsid hozott a föld, például a sár, a fekete a föld, és a fű, édes fű, és a folyó, és amikor visszajött Árpád és a más vezér, Kúsid azt mondta, tényleg jó földot, és most Árpád azt mondta, most lehet hozni a fehér ló vele. És a fehér ló volt az ajándék Svatopluk. És adott a fehér ló Svatoplukba, és Svatopluk azt mondta, tényleg parasztok, mert itt a ajándék. És azt mondta, mit szeretnél, Kúsid? És Kúsid azt mondta, csak a föld, csak a víz, csak a fő, igen. És most a Kúsid visszajött Árpádhez, és most igazából we just traded the horse for the entire place. And that was like their casus belli to then go and invade, and then there was a battle, and they say that Svatopluk fell off his horse and drowned in the river. Now, who knows how much of this is all true, because this is all chronicled by medieval chroniclers 300 years after the fact and then passed down in legend to us today. But I just thought it was an interesting origin story for the Hungarian people here, because it was based on, but nagyon érdekes, csak egy pillanat, mert is a másik nagyon híres történetet a fehér ló fia. És a fehér ló fia tényleg a népmesék, és a szitok, hunok, avarok, közép-ázsiai mesét. És Arany János, persze, de Arany János kisfiúja volt Arany László. És Arany László nem tényleg eredeti író, tényleg kicsit eredeti, de több népmesék collector. And one népmesék that he collected was this fehér ló fia. And it's a crazy story. But the way that I found it was there's this guy, Yankovic Marcel, and he is a rajzoló, or he actually just died, but he's the one that illustrated a lot of the magyar népmesék, például János Vitéz, és például fehér ló fia, wow, legpszichodelikusabb film, azt megnéztem. 1942, és ez a fehér ló, and she gives birth to a human boy, and he's the fehér ló fia, and then he travels on this crazy adventure and meets his older brothers who he didn't know about, like the stone crusher guy and the iron bender guy who lives inside the mountain, and then some crazy shit happens. But anyway, long story short, this idea of the fehér ló was through the ancient Hungarian tradition, all the way from their ancient Scythian and Magyarok and Avarok forefathers to this origin story. And it's interesting because you were saying to me before, have you gotten into any of the theories on what's true and what's not. Do you think that's important to know what the truth is of the origins?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. I think in some ways it's important or it's worthwhile to get as close as you can. I mean, there's some stuff you'll just never figure out. Like most of what Anonymous wrote about, like we just won't be able to verify it. But I think when you can get, and the reason why I think it's important to go as far as you can towards the truth is that it gives you a common basis to like lay it down. Because if you don't have it, then you have these like warring stories. And if you just have stories that are fighting each other, they're like, it's like a meme battle, essentially. Then it's like you basically have no basis on like synthesizing it into a single thing.
But it's interesting. It's almost a paradox because that only matters if people think it matters. Like, you know what I mean? Like if it didn't matter at all, then you could take a little of this, one guy believes this, and okay, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that there's these other people that are saying, no, our way's right, our way's right. And then like, I feel like for me, like, you know, I don't really care that much. I like a good story, whatever's like the more interesting story wins. But then I feel sometimes a little bit, not responsible, because I think there's so many people that are, you know, putting stuff out there and doing this and doing that. And we're all sort of shepherding the ancient knowledge along in our own little way. But sometimes like I'm very easily won over to like the romantic perspective. And I like this idea that there's these different groups and they all have their separate ethnic identities. And I think it's really cool and amazing. But then we look at like history and we see, you know, before World War I, for instance, there was all these waves of romanticism and building up the idea of the nation state. And it ended in this like chaotic clusterfuck. And we're seeing it again now today with, you know, Putin thinking that Ukraine was like never an independent country. And now he's going in with bombs and stuff. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think it's worthwhile, and I haven't heard this perspective articulated very, very often, but I think it's important to try and get the best of both worlds when you can, right? So, in some ways, we are just walking, like you said very well, shepherds of ancient wisdom or an ancient tradition or multiple traditions, and there's a certain degree of it where it will just be it just lives in language. It lives in the stories that we tell each other. Now, there's some way of getting a little bit of objectivity. We'll never get the whole thing, but it gives us some stuff to work with. And then we should embrace our ability to storytell in a way that serves us the best. I mean, when I mean serves us globally. Like and this is a thing that I talk about a lot and I think about a lot in terms of the role of like nationalism in a culture, in a nation's identity, because there's a way where you can understand yourself, say as a culture, that isn't in conflict with being, you know, global citizens or something like that, or sharing land even with people. And so I always say, if you see a dichotomy that's causing conflict, it's probably false. Find a way to get the higher dimensional view where like you can have the best of it all.
Nem szeretnél, de imádsz magyar étel?
Igen, nagyon bírom.
Milyen a kedvenc étel?
Szegedi halaszlé.
Szegedi halaszlé?
Igen.
Nagyon jó. És Szeged elmentél?
Igen.
Szegedre?
Igen, többször is. Ott szoktunk felvenni bizonyos zenét, mondjuk a zenekarról.
Zenes vagy?
Igen.
Milyen zenes vagy?
Legfőképpen egy indie zenekarban játszom. Frontembere vagyok valami lesz nevű formációnak.
Mit a neve a formáció?
Valami lesz.
Valami lesz.
Aha. Igen.
Mit jelent valami lesz?
Something will be.
Something will be, whatever will be.
Yeah, exactly.
Készre, alszara.
Igen. Kb. Nem pontosan ugyanúgy, de hasonlóképpen. Általában egy magyar azt mondja, hogy hát valami lesz, amikor van egy összetett helyzet, és nem teljes mértékben tudja befolyásolni az eredményét, de azért elfogadják, hogy a jövő meg fog történni, és akkor valahogyan valami lesz. És nem tudjuk mi pontosan, de ami tetszik benne, hogy van abban a kifejezésben, vagy abban a gondolatban van egy implikált remény, hogy de bármi, ami lesz, tudjunk kezelni majd. Szóval tudjunk élni, túlélni.
Értem.
Igen.
És hol játszotok?
Hát szóval...
Kocsma, színház?
Hát szóval régen, szóval ez egy hosszú történet, mint a zenekar, nem tudom, lassan 5 éves lesz, és 5 éves azt jelenti, hogy mikor, szóval 5 éve volt, amikor kezdtünk használni ezt a nevet. De azért a formáció annyira sokat változott, hogy nem is teljesen vagyok biztos, hogy egy zenekarnak nevezhető mostanában, de nem léptünk föl, vagy nem játszottunk egy koncertet a Covid után. Covid alatt csak egy új lemezt készítjük, amit épp fog kijönni, nagyon hamar. Ez az első dal, az első single a lemezből. Ez a márciusban, szerintem március közepén.
Ebben az évben március?
Ebben az évben, igen.
Ja,
igen.
Izgalmas.
Igen. Nagyon vártunk, mert nagyon régóta dolgozunk ezen.
Az első CD record neked?
Hát igen, az első mondjuk komolyabb anyag lesz. Ja.
Cool. És hol utazol Magyarországon?
Hol utaztam? Szóval Szegedet.
Milyen város? Szeged?
Ja, igen. Pécs. Nem tudom, Miskolc.
Tokaj?
Nem voltam Tokajban.
Nem Tokaj. Vilán?
De lehet, hogy egyszer voltam. De ha igen, akkor nem töltöttem olyan sok időt ott. Ja.
És hol szeretnél? Például mész a Balaton.
Igen, több helyen.
Hol Balatonban?
Balatonfüred,
nagyon szép hely. Tihany, nagyon szép. Észak-Balaton, a Baracsony mellett.
Igen, Baracsony többször. Siófok is. Igen, az is egy jó hely.
És azt hiszel, itt maradsz Magyarországon?
Igen.
Tényleg?
Igen.
Forever?
Igen. Hát igen.
Wow.
Hát lehet, hogy lesz olyan szakasz, amikor nem tudom, külföldre költözöm valami miatt, nem tudom, ha gyerekeim lesznek, és akkor azt akarjunk a családdal, nem tudom, adni valami
Barátnőd magyar?
Nincs barátom. Nincs. De majd tudod, hipotetikusan, ha lesz valami család, és akkor lehet, hogy arra
hipotetikus,
Igen, de mit tudom én. De van az a közmondás, vagy ki mondott ez nagy szégyen, hogy nem emlékszem, de valami nagy költő lehet, hogy mit tudom én, azt mondta, hogy itt élned, halnod kell. Nem tudom, ha ezt hallottál.
Halnom kell.
Halnod, hogy you need to die here. Like you need to live here, you need to die here.
Okay.
Magyarként.
Wow.
És nem vagyok magyar, de azért nem bánom, ha itt élnem, halnom kell.
Wow. Érdekes. És igazából tetszik a magyar nyelvtörő?
Nyelvtörő.
It's like tongue twisters.
Ja, hát igen, nem annyira foglalkoztam velük.
I think people think I'm better at Hungarian than I am because I've memorized a lot of tongue twisters. Például az ipa-fáj papnak fa-pipája van, ezért az ipa-fáj fa-pipa, papi-fa-pipa, vagy a fekete bika patakopaga patika pepite kövén. És igen, csak az emberek tényleg tetszik, amikor lehet olvasni ezek a nyelvtörők, és például ha lehet küldeni, kérlek nyelvtörő nekünk, és utána lehet olvasni. De most igen, és főcímdal például like mézga család. You know mézga család? Mézga család volt a magyar Jetsons, és mindig how do you say this thing? Enekel. Mindig szeretnék. Vörösmarty szózatban van az itt élned hánod kell. Is that what you just said? Vörösmarty szózatban. Shilgront. Köszönöm szépen, Shilgront.
Igen, tényleg köszönjük.
Vörösmarty.
Itt élned hánod kell. Erős.
Here you live.
Here you live. Well, so word by word, it's like here, to live, to die, need, or whatever. But so you need to live and die here.
És sok magyar barátai?
Vannak, igen, sok magyar barátom.
És mit szeretnél csinálni itt? What would you like to do here that you haven't done already in Hungary? Like in terms of your life, do you have any goals to open a business or become a restaurateur or things like that?
I got a ton of stuff. Well, I mean, so I'm kind of working on them now. So there's the band, which we talked about. I spend a lot of time with the band's work to express different things that I see kind of coming from a different culture that I find in Hungary. So there's sort of like rubbing the two cultures up against each other in like a parallax format. That's like a lot of the content of the music.
Parallax.
Yeah, parallax is like,
I've never heard that word before.
I think it means, it's like what your eyes do to like figure out depth perception. It's like approaching something from two different angles and you get more information from it.
Wow, cool.
So yeah, that's like a lot of.
I wonder what that is in Hungarian. Parallax, probably just like parallax,
something like that. I don't know. Yeah,
that's actually what I find the hardest Hungarian words for me. I mean, now I'm getting a little bit better, but it was always like academia instead of like, because I'm used to saying academy. So like I see that I want to say like academy or like, I don't know, just something that's been Hungaricized from the original language always trips me up more than like leggyönyörű pilango or something. Although there's this one guy who's writing on all my YouTube videos now, because I always say leggyönyörűbb, and he's insistent that leggyönyörűbb is not a valid form of it, or not that it's not valid. He says that it's incorrect because to say something is gyönyörű already means that it's like very gorgeous. And like so to say leggyönyörűbb is like unnecessary. But I always thought that you can just make leg and baba everything. That's actually what I find to be like one of the easiest things about the Hungarian language is the superlatives. Yeah. Because you just add the leg and the BB and it's like piece of cake. Leg and the BB, ABB. Yeah. And you can do that with a lot of things. I mean, like you can make pretty much anything into a verb. Like I tried to do it before with koncentrationshalozny, but not really a good example. But you can make anything a verb. Yeah. You can make anything like zsíros, vilmosos, or ryanos, like something like. Yeah. What would you describe that kind of word?
It means like it's like kind of adding like Ryan like Willie like
Krumplish,
yeah, potato like. Or potato-y. Potato-y, yeah.
Okay, someone just looked it up. Parallaxis or latosug elhayás. Never. Oh, the comments are coming in. István Takács from the Liverpool blog. Leg optimalisabb is the one which is really double done. Yo, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. That would make sense. Yeah.
Subkuksabat Thup said vum.ong. I think this might be a Russian hacker coming in on the stream, so I don't want to misdirect any of Putin's tank formation, so we'll leave that one to go. And yeah, so like what's going on this weekend? You have any plans?
Let's see here. I got a ton of stuff to do music-wise, getting more of this record together.
What does a day in your life look like? Like an average day, what do you do?
Yeah, so I wake up, I work out in one form or another typically, and then I start working as a software engineer. That's my main job. I work for a company called Cul-de-sac out of Tempe, Arizona. We make carless cities or walkable cities and neighborhoods, which is in Europe not an invention, but in the Western United States a deeply needed thing.
You make walkable cities, or you make the cities walkable?
Or we make walkable cities. We build the cities.
You build the cities?
Yeah. Our first project is a 1,000-person neighborhood in Tempe that we're building from scratch.
Oh, wow.
You can't, it's like in your lease that you can't keep a private car on the premise. And as a result, you can build a much more beautiful place because you don't have a sea of parking you need to support.
Huh. There must be a lot of money behind that project. That sounds like it takes a lot of capital.
Intensive. That's very true. Yeah. So yeah, so my weekdays are like working, I usually start like around noonish or like early afternoon and, work through sort of early night, like late evening, where I get a couple meetings with colleagues. And then, it's like I do like, I squeeze in like music stuff and translation stuff like in pockets of things. I have a lot of music lessons, I guess. So I, study with some music, with some voice teachers, and, on the weekends I've started to take drum lessons. I mean, this is to support like songwriting, so just be more fluent in these things. So that's like one aspect of stuff. And yeah, so
what about for fun, like with friends? Do you go to bars? Do you go to play music or?
Yeah, it's these days. So there's the friends that I collaborate with on different projects. There's friends who I'll just see for like a long coffee or a chat in a bar or whatever. And then that, that's like much more infrequent. That's like, I'll get together with one person maybe every 2 weeks or something like that, or like something will come together over a weekend or whatever. But at this stage in my life, I'm much more interested in pushing these projects along. I mean, they just have my full attention. The music, the translation, my work with Cul-de-sac. It's like I wake up and I think about these things, and I think about the things that draw me to this place and what I see that I'm trying to express. And sometimes they're complicated ideas and they take a lot of effort and to clear up and then to communicate. And
have you met other people that are similar to you, like doing this similar type of stuff, translation and Hungarian interest?
I've met people who, I mean, no one who's like combining it in the same way, which it makes sense. I mean, we're all individual people who do our own collection of things, but so yeah, I've met translators.
For instance, you're the first American I've met that's as interested, if not actually probably more interested in Hungarian poetry than I am. So like I haven't met too many people that are Americans that are here that are learning poetry and things like that.
And I felt the same way about you with history. Like when I first saw your stuff when you were there was some press about you, I think in 2020. I was like, you know, this guy knows more Hungarian history than I do, and I'm so glad that he's doing this, you know, because it's like you're invigorating something that has a lot of material and excitement in it. You're making it accessible to people here and to people who are not from here. And I'm, doing the same thing in slightly different parts of the society.
Nice.
And I've met translators who also, are, they're even more into the poetry and the culture than I am. But then they concentrate on the literature itself, perhaps. Do you
know who Festi Arpad is?
I don't.
He was a Hungarian painter.
His name is Festi Arpad and he's a painter?
Festi Arpad.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I did think the same thing. De igazából érdekes, mert csak mentem a Ópusztasere, és Ópusztaszer a magyar open air történelem adventure park mellett, Szeged mellett. Oh, Michael Botlik. Hi Willie, what's up? Have a nice day. Mizu, szép napot. De Ópusztaszer nagyon érdekes museum igazából, és a Nomad Parkon foglalás dolgok, és ember lovagol, és például sok szobor, és a tényleg igazi hősök tere, mert itt a hősök tere sok hős, de ott tényleg sok hős, és kisebb, de több emberek, és is a leghíresebb dolog ott Ópusztaszeren a Festi Arpad térkép. And it's like a giant panorama picture that a whole building has to house. And it has music and special effects. And it's all about the honfoglalás, és Arpad, és a hatmas vezér. Nagyon romantikus, igazából egy oldalal ebben a képben pogoin, a pagan thematic. It's a beautiful painting, and nagyon érdekes. De mit akartam mondani volt, Festi Arpad nagyon híres a magyar painter, de is Grúziában, in Georgia, mert mentünk oda Alexaval múlt nyáron, és igazából Tbilisiben a szobor, Festi Arpad szobor. Mert Festi Arpad volt a magyar, de ment Grúziába, és ő festett a legfontosabb grúz versek, A Night in the Panther Skin, and now they honor him. So anyway, I guess we only got about a minute left here, but the point that I wanted to make was it was very interesting. This is a Hungarian guy that went to a different culture, and he was super enthused by it. And I think that there's people like us and like me and like you that have been throughout history sort of giving another perspective to cultures that sometimes when you're inside of it, you can't really see clearly.
100%.
Do you have any other thoughts before we wrap it up here today?
Oh, just that it's been an honor to chat with you about this. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing, and I hope that we can continue to help each other.
Oh, likewise.
In the future.
Likewise. Nagyon jó. Andrea Marcho, nagyon jó a magyarod. Köszi szépen. All right, well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Ryan. Köszönöm szépen mindenkinek. Köszönöm szépen Ray for putting us together. And just wishing everyone to stay safe and healthy. And szép napot, szép estét, szép délután, wherever you may be. Have a good one.